Welcome back, everyone, to our... I did that really at the side. I went like this. Welcome back, everyone. Let's go this way. Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 63. I can't remember where we were last week. Last week, we were speaking to my father, Colin Curry, a man I know quite well. However, this week, we're moving a wee bit away from the Isle of Arran, but only into Ayrshire. Now, I have maybe made the mistake at a young farmers event to say that Arran just pretends to be part of Ayrshire, so the commoners in Ayrshire, such as this lady, can think we are one of them. However, I'm probably going to regret that quite soon. The lady we have on today will probably make me quite accountable for such a thing. So, yes. But today we have Jane Strawhorn. Jane, would you like to say hello?
Hello.
Before we get on into another excellent episode of the R2Kast, I would just like to thank the sponsor for the show today, The Scottish Farmer. A weekly magazine highlighting everything you need to know regarding the Scottish agricultural industry, whether it's breaking news, events happening in the sector, market reports, classified ads, or just wholesome stories happening in the industry. The Scottish Farmer's got it for you.
Looking forward to this podcast very much. Jane is a big fan of R2K, and that's for one reason and one reason only. Not because we talk about sustainability of food production, not because we post some fantastic recipes, or not because my cute little face is there all the time, but in fact because Jane is a massive cat fan, and Scampy is adorable. Scampy looks like my old Tigger, which is Jane's cat. But Jane likes to follow R2K, especially on TikTok, so I would advise you to go and check out if you don't, because little Jamesy, our little black cat, just not really, he's still a kitten. I believe he is one next month at the point of recording. Yeah, I know, it's exciting. I mean, we should really get him a little cake.
Cake, give me
a hat. Great idea. Oh, you bow tie.
Mm-hmm. The works.
Cat in the hat. Oh, he deserves it because he's a star, and I've trained him, of all things, to jump up and give you a little cuddle. So it's quite the talent. So that's the only reason really that R2K is famous in the Strawhorn household. For those of you that have came here because you know Jane, it's probably through Young Farmers, it's maybe through farming, it's maybe through some other things that we'll get into today. For those of you that don't know Jane, if you are in Scotland and you want to get into farming, there's a very good way to start finding your way in, and that is through Young Farmers. And she is definitely, as Colin McKinnon in episode 57, 6 episodes ago, said, the person to ask. Now, I don't know if that was because you are in charge of Colin and he just wants to reduce his work, Jane, but it could be that.
I was like, that sounds about right, actually. That's probably spot on.
Probably it. Which we will get into. We'll get into Young Farmers and stuff like that. But just while we do mention the Colin and Jane rivalry, one thing she did say off camera, and she's probably not expecting me to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, was I said this should get quite a few views, and her words were, as long as it's more than Colin. That's all she cares about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Always a competition. Always a competition.
Love to hear
and
it.
I always win. It's
going to be awkward when you get less views. It's going to be a awkward one, that. Can't wait. So, Jane, could you tell us a bit about your background? Who's young Jane Strawhorn? Were you from a farm?
Yeah, so I grew up on a working dairy farm outside of Kilmarnock in East Ayrshire. My dad was a farmer, had always been a farmer up until we sold the farm, and my mum is who works for SAC Consulting as a farm accounts analyst. So yeah, always grew up around farming. It was only maybe 4 years ago that we sold the farm, which was it was obviously massive for us. I hadn't known anything different than that, although it's worked out quite well. The farm gets sold to my aunt and uncle, so really we live as close as we physically could probably to the farm without actually still living there, which is still nice. My dad works for McCaskey's in Ayr now. Probably the happiest he's ever been, if I'm being brutally honest, because dairy farming's not easy, so especially the price of milk. So yeah, it was a huge move for us, but yeah, it was probably worth it in the end.
Was that farm the farm that you sold in your dad or your mum's side that it came from?
It was on my dad's side.
Right, yeah.
It was a farm, yeah, so there's the two farms. My cousin Katie and her family lived at the other farm. There was two farms. They've still got the East Overland, and we sold Hayne and Mains. So to my mum's, and it was sold to my mum's side of the family. So it's all connected. and roundabout.
Yeah, it is, but it's normal that it would jump into the same side of the family. It's quite weird to make a change.
Yes.
Did your grandparents have that before? Have both of those farms before then? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So my grandpa, my gran and grandpa Strawhorn, who have now lost both of them, they had Hayne and Mains and East Overland. My papa had a brother who died fairly young, and at that point my uncle was kind of moved over to the other farm because someone needed to be there, and then it's a very long roundabout story how how my mum and dad ended up there, but there was another brother who didn't want to farm, and then my dad eventually, we moved to Hayne and Mains. I think I was maybe 2, and my sister was not yet born at that point, or was about to be born, I should say. So yeah, I've never remembered living anywhere else before we lived at the farm. So
yeah. Yes, certainly you guys never remembered anything else. Quite a short period for your parents though. It's normally quite a long period at a farm. But that's 4 years.
My dad always worked there. So there was 3 brothers, 2 farms, and 2 cottages essentially. So my mum and dad lived in the cottage at the other farm, and then once the actual farm became empty or vacant, they moved us into there. So it's everything my dad had ever done was farming. All he's ever known until obviously when we put the dairy off, and he started looking for jobs, which was weird for him.
Yeah, it would be.
Weird for him, but good. It was good.
It's quite a weird process when you see someone having gone from first off self-employed or a business owner, same sort of thing in that sense, to then having to work for someone, and then also just that interview process. It's surreal for some people.
So funny when you speak to him though, because obviously I've always worked for in offices and things. So is my mum, and my sister to an extent. She's a vet nurse, but he would come home from being at work and be he could never wrap his head around office dynamics and people not getting on and having me cliques and things like that, and he's just because he's only ever worked with his brother and his nephews, so he always was just I don't understand this, and me and mum would just roll our eyes and be he'll learn, he needs to learn, he'll just learn. That's how offices an office dynamic works.
The sort of disagreements that would be had on the farm would be obvious battles face to face.
Exactly. Yes, you can't deal with things on the farm the way you deal with them in a farm shop, so especially it's one that's not his. So
the big good thing, that can't be the right term. The big good thing, no, definitely not right. We'll go with it anyway. About that is once he's finished though. There's no sitting.
Well, that's the thing. And I've said this to my sister as well. I'm not saying my dad. If you ever met my dad, or if people who have met my dad, he is the life and soul of every room that he walks into. But it can be really draining. This working yourself into the ground for very little return, as a lot of people, not just in dairy farming, I've seen a lot of people across agriculture, and to come in every night and doing that work, never getting a real proper holiday. You work Christmas, you do all this stuff, which we've never known anything different to that, obviously. But even now, he takes holidays. He's still on the body clock. He's still up at 5 a.m, and it drives my mum crazy because he drives her into work because she works at Auchincruve and he works at McCaskey. So he drops her off at 7 a.m, and I get an email from her today at 5 to 7, and I just replied, I was you need to speak to him about this. It's just ridiculous. He can't drag you into work and he doesn't start till 8 o'clock, but he goes to get the paper and he goes a wee drive and he does this and he does that, and I'm oh, it must have meant her. But yeah, it's so nice seeing him getting bank holidays, time off at Christmas, they bought a caravan at Maidens as well, and being able to leave work on a Friday and going down for the weekend without having to come up and milk cows twice a day. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No,
huge.
Few dairy farmers that just haven't holidayed with their kids ever. It's just
ever.
And you said you've met my dad. I have a few times. It takes if you get a couple bags of animal feed or whatever, he'll come out for the chat. I'm I'm fine. No. I'm coming for the chat. I'm class.
You'll never have, if you get him in the shop, you'll never have to carry anything yourself. It's ridiculous. He just loves going out and every day he comes in, he'll be oh, I was speaking to such and such. Do you know them? And I know a lot of people from Young Farmers and everything. I have to, but his is just another level. I'm I have no idea who you're talking about. Not a clue. But okay, they know me. Of course they do.
Well, it's funny, that was the chat, you and I are obviously, it was maybe more talking about Ailey age-wise. I think Ailey and I are pretty close. But I knew of you two at the time when we first had a chat, and he was like, oh, you'll know them. And I was like, I know who they are. And he was like, oh, but no. And I kept asking questions. I don't know this much. Like, I just know who they are.
I'm surprised he didn't try and sell one of us to you. That's his favourite thing to do. Literally, the amount of people, especially in like club level as well. I was chatting to one of the boys, and they're like, "Yeah, your dad was telling us that you and your sister are single," and I'm like, "Do not repeat that, ever. Don't speak to him if you see him ever again. That's so embarrassing. All these poor people he speaks to, it's awful. So embarrassing."
Maybe it was good I kept quiet that my old man's got a bit of land, because the second that happens, that'll be the next target of the old man. Yeah, exactly. Very good. So the farm itself, Jane, a dairy farm, what sort of size was
it? Probably milking about just under 200 cows. Right. They had a brand spanking dairy flow parlour. It's quite nice. Right. It was split between the two. They only did milkings at Hayne and Mains. They didn't have any cows milking at the other farm. It was just for other things. Rearing beef cattle, things like that. So, but my grandpapa lived, as everyone seems to do, they lived just at the bottom of the road in a wee bungalow that they built. So, it's a nice family.
Yeah, for sure. Is your cousin, like Katie and their family, what is it they're farming, just out of interest?
They've moved into beef, it's just not cool. On your...
I was just going to say, they're the Strawhorns in the middle of the Hendry country, is that right?
Yes, it's so funny. It's honestly, you'd think it was like something out of like a war, because they're literally like circled pretty much in Henry country. I mean, we were a wee bit where we were, because we are just across from like where James lives, like Henry. So we're like in the diagonal from them, next to Bowhouse Prison. That's where we were. But like they're like in this, they're the last one standing. They're holding out. I don't know what for. Your uncle, honestly, surrounded by them.
It's funny. Obviously, I know Katie through Rhett, and when Katie joined Rhett, she went to group chat and we're explaining who she was, and my dad was like, "So who's that?" So I asked in the group chat, and I was like, he said to me, I was like, "Our surname's Strawhorn," and just as Katie was typing, he was like, "Oh, Strawhorn." So she'll be surrounded by Henry country. And just as I said that, Katie texted the exact same thing back, and I was like, that's the most surreal thing.
It's hilarious. That full road, pretty much, and either side as well, is just the Henrys, Wallace and James, circling in like vultures. God bless them. They're so nice as well. It's such a lovely family. It's so funny. Everyone says. It's hilarious.
Just wait until you're overrun and they overtake the last.
Not many of them. I mean, there's 4 boys. Wallace and Isla have 4 boys. Who I used to babysit them, which maybe show my age a wee bit, and they're almost all in Young Farmers now, which is horrifying for me. I remember the youngest 2 being born and looking after them, and now they're like at shows and Young Farmers and stuff. It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
Makes you feel quite old, that, doesn't it?
Oh, it's horrible. It's horrible. My dad always points it out to me as well. He was speaking to people who are doing our club concert this year, who are like 15, 16, and he's like, he came in and we were chatting about it yesterday, and he was like, "Not make you feel quite old?" And I'm like, "Dad, enough." I already feel old without you reminding this crippling reminder of my age. Thank you very much. It's horrible.
The answer is yes. Let's move on.
Let's not dwell on it. Thank you.
Now, I promised you that I do plan on talking about you during this podcast, but I'm just interested. I've got onto your dad at this point, and then I feel like I'm just about to go onto your mum as well. What did you say your mum done at SAC?
She is a farm accounts analyst.
Ah, right, okay. Is that
no? The thing is, so I'm saying this now. I feel like that's not a job title anymore, and it has to be for a wee file. And now she's gonna listen to this and be like, "You don't listen to a word I say." I get all these fancy jobs, like she gets all these like promotions and stuff because she's so good at her job, and I'm just like, there's been that many, I can't keep up. But she's it's the same building. It's the John Niven building. The the same building that the consultants are in, but if you walk in, the consultants are straight on, and she's down the corridor in the room that she shares with these people. But it's to do with farm accounts. That's what our work is. It's to do with farm accounts.
Well, Miss Strawhorn, if you are listening, I apologise for Jane's
Mrs. It's Mrs. She's married to my dad. Thank you very much.
That's what I said.
You said Miss?
Oh, well, whatever you want to be, but actually in 2022 it was wrong of me to assume it was even Strawhorn. Who knows? Maybe your dad took your mum's name. Who knows? Right, away from parents and the sort of history. Well, we're going to get into even more of your history. But when you left school, what was next for Jane Strawhorn? I better not say Miss or Mrs. in case I get it wrong.
No, Miss is fine for me. Miss is fine for me. So what did I? Oh, it was so recent that I left school.
Yes, of course.
Of course, yeah. I actually, for someone who's very headstrong and knows what she's doing, I actually no idea. I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what to do. So I thought I'll go and try college. Didn't like it. So I was like, the only thing I can really do here, I was like, I need to get a job and try working. So I started at Langholm Tea Room.
Didn't everyone?
Do you know, I was literally about to say, this is like the running joke. I swear, this is how Crusoe Young Farmers is like, gets every new member. Like it's like it's at least an initiation. You have to work at Langholm for at least a year to be able to join the club. It's absolutely, everyone you speak to has worked at Langholm. Katie even, I think Katie as well, she used to work at Langholm. Only one that hasn't is Ailey. So started at Langholm doing cooking and doing stuff in the kitchen, making cakes. And then whilst I was working there on every single Tuesday, I think you'll find this quite interesting. I did tours of Culzean Castle. I know, everyone always was like, oh my God. So I did that for a full summer, so like a summer season with the National Trust. And while I was there, they have an education officer who put me in touch with this brand spanking new programme of training people to work in museums. Right. And this is a very, my career has so many, twists and not even. So I applied for, you can only apply for 3 places, they had 12 spaces, you can only, 12 spaces at 12 different venues, something like that. And you can only apply for 3. So I applied for Irvine, because it was the closest one to the house. Irvine, Orkney, and Glasgow. Okay. Why not? So I did that, got all 3, but because I was so committed to young farmers at that point, I decided to go with Irvine and spent a year working at the Maritime Museum in Irvine as a trainee volunteer manager. So I managed the volunteers that worked at the museum. Stayed there for a wee bit after, my boss left, stopped enjoying it as much after she left, and then was looking for other things. And it was a family connection, got me an office junior job. And bear in mind, I was 20 at this time, about to turn 21, got an office junior job at a law firm in Kilmarnock. And from there, I became the receptionist, then became a legal secretary, and I'm now a child and family law paralegal.
So just on you saying that you're a child and family law paralegal and how much it seemed to take you to remember that, we'll give you some cut you some slack for the fact you forgot your mum's position, because you almost forgot your own.
Exactly. I'm like, again, what is that I do? Right.
There's a lot to jump back into there, so I'm going to jump back and try and go chronologically. First off, were you good at school?
I was okay. I don't think I test well, but I was always good at I was always good at your written things. I always say I'm more of a history, modern studies, English than I am. I can obviously count. I can obviously count. Okay, but put me in any sort of pressure situation with numbers and my brain just turns into a puddle. I can't do it.
Result, something like that.
Whereas I get my mum to do all that for me, and then she's not as good. I always say she's really good with Excel, Microsoft Excel. I'm really good with Microsoft Word. And we help each other. We help each other. So, but yeah, I was fine. Yeah. No, I give myself a bit of credit. I'm quite good at when it comes to writing things. I'm quite good at that. But then give me a calculator and hope for the best. That's my approach in maths. I'm so bad at it. So yeah, I was fine. School was really good. I stayed till 6th year. It was fine. I went to Loud Academy, so yeah, it was fine. It was okay. Like, it's nothing special. And then I just didn't know. Like, I was like, I could have went to uni, but I was like, I don't know. So I was like, college is like not the baby step in between, but I was like, it's a wee bit more. It's local. It's a wee bit more. If I'm not enjoying it, then it's easy. I felt like it was easier for me to pull back from it if I wasn't enjoying it, and it turned out I didn't. But I needed to try it to know that for sure. And then just working after that.
What was it? Maybe you said this, but I don't caught it. What was it you tried at college?
Social sciences.
Right. Okay.
Which is fine.
Yeah, for sure. The thing is with college, uni, whatever, the reason I went, apart from the obvious thing, the qualification, was the social side. I didn't want to go to college. He says, after going through 5 years straight to masters and getting into lecturing a year after. But anyway, let's forget that. You never know how it's going to work. I'd have a very boring podcast if I was on the other side. It's like this. But I just went to go and get drunk. That was all I went for. And the social side was the reason I went to uni. And you've got that with young farmers. So it's,
so my sister went to college. She went to Barney for 2 years and absolutely loved it. But that was I'm not saying she's not into young farmers, but I always say there's levels of being in young farmers. And there's people like me who are saturated with it, and there's people like her who's she'll dip in and out. So when she went to Barney, she stayed in Dumfries for not the full 2 years, but she obviously came home, but pretty much moved down there and absolutely loved it, whereas that's just not something I could have seen myself really doing. But that's fine, and I knew that. I tried it, I knew that, and I was like, no, I'm meant to work. I knew that. I was like, I'm meant to get a job and I'm meant to work, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine, Jane. I'm lazy and I'm not meant to work.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. You mentioned about the Young Farmers Initiation in Langham Farm. I have a bit of a story.
Oh no! This. Okay.
I've said Langham intentionally.
I know you have.
Yeah.
Langham. I've
never heard of Langham Farm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
oh no!
We had a rep meeting. Now I'm obviously in the Ayrshire rep stuff. And I'm in Dumfries, which is a mistake. But anyway, it's happened. And as much as I love the team, but it means I'm travelling with us. We're having a meeting at Langham Farm. Excellent. Saw it in the email. Fantastic. So I thought, well, there's no point in putting into sat-nav exactly. I'll just get to Langham and then I'll decide where it is. Right? I'm about an hour east of Dumfries. And then I see the text. No, that's a lie. I'll be half an hour east of Dumfries, basically heading that way, and I see the text saying, just in case anyone hasn't got the address, here you are. And I was spot on. So I just, not obviously as I was driving, pulled over, went onto maps.
Of course, obviously,
of course. And put it in, that was fine. And I was like, no. So I was like, Trips, this isn't in Langham. And then they were like, nope, it's not. I was like,
why would it be in Langham? Why would an Ayrshire meeting be there?
So, exactly, right? I've literally started this story by explaining they're there, I'm here, this is bloody here. And then I started to think, I was like, that was pretty stupid.
It's fine, don't worry, these things happen. Liam, oh my goodness.
I'd rather if you didn't judge me for that one. I'm actually really interested. You said I would be interested, and then you got an extremely interested reaction, because I was very interested about being a tour guide at the castle, Culzean Castle, which I think I've actually spelled right as I write it down. I don't know.
Have you put a Z in it?
Culzean.
Go again?
Culzean.
Yep. Okay. I thought you said A. I thought you said S, and I was like, oh dear. Oh dear.
What did that involve? What were you just going around the whole castle, or what was it?
So because of the size of it, we all pretty much got a room each. Because it changed every week. So it was really interesting, because I really like history and things like that. So it was something nice. It was something different as well. Like, I've never thought I would do anything like that. So we basically just you had to like learn all your stuff because you switched rooms, so you had to learn everything so you could answer questions. Basically, this is going to sound really lazy, but you just, depending on the time of year and depending on how busy it was, you would either be like rushed off your feet with people, or you would, what I was always told was take a book with you, which was fine for me because I love reading, and you get a wee chair in the corner of the room, and if people come in, obviously you put your book down and you're like chatting away to them and having a wee blather, and that's fine. But if it's a quiet day, then you can sit and read your book and just make sure everything's like, nothing gets damaged, no one touches anything they shouldn't be, answer any questions, and just generally just be welcoming, and just, if they've got give them a bit of chat. Everyone's so nice that they've come in.
Did you have to dress up like with the fancy dresses?
No, I did not have to dress up. The only thing you had to wear was, I've still got my badge somewhere, I don't know where it is, but I had like a name badge, and you had to wear like a tartan sash, but you could wear anything as long as you kind of dressed like reasonably smart. Like I wouldn't have turned up in like a tracksuit or something like that. Like I wouldn't turn up with my like cap on. Like I was reasonably smartly dressed and had my tartan sash on, wee name badge so people knew my name, and that was there to help, instead of just some strange girl sitting in the corner reading a book, you know, like what is she doing in here? And it was good as well because they used to do this like Lego tour thing. They had little Lego minifigures in the castle. So like the kids would come in and they'd be like, don't care about who built, like Robert Adam built this and designed this castle and whatever else. They just were like, where's the Lego? Show us the Lego. I'm like, that's not the point. Find it. But don't touch it. Don't touch anything.
I would be that kid. 100%.
I know, he was running in. They're so happy, but it was really nice.
You said good. You liked history, which makes sense given your age, but
so funny. Acting like you're a million years younger than me.
Yeah, no, I think there's like a year's difference.
Like 1 or 2.
What did you?
Clinging on to them. There's only like 1 or 2 years between us. You're just clinging on to them. Make me feel like a dime. Yeah, so it's 2 years. Yeah.
2 years. That's not too bad. Yeah. You're basically ancient. You're basically out with young farmers, actually, as it goes. But what are you going to do? When I would go to like these historical things, I'll be honest, I'm not good on history. I just get so bored. I'm like, it happened. Like, I walk through it, look at the pretty pictures, and the best thing about Brodick Castle, as good a castle as Brodick Castle is you get to find the pterodactyl egg. So that's probably the best thing out there. So I'm definitely one of those kids. Like, where's the Lego? Tell me where the Lego is. My
dad fell down the steps at Brodick Castle outside. Whenever someone says Brodick Castle, that's all I think.
That is a fair fall.
He was fine. Obviously, I'm laughing because he was fine. But obviously, if he wasn't fine, I wouldn't be laughing. But whenever anyone says Brodick Castle, that is where my head goes immediately. Not anything else to do with it. It's a beautiful it's so lovely. Just my dad falling down steps. That's immediately what my brain goes to. It's so nasty.
For those of you listening that maybe don't know Brodick Castle, don't know Aaron or whatever, it must be 20 steps. It's like a garden steps. It's, yeah.
It's slippy. It's slippy.
Very.
That's what it's down.
I feel like I shouldn't laugh.
It's funny though. It's fine. So it's fine.
I feel like he's fine. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Don't worry about it.
There's a reason. Yeah, I'm just picturing you and like your absolute. What's the word? Just loving life, sitting reading a book. The only thing that would make it better would be a wee cat running around or something like that.
That's my dream.
Yeah,
that's my happy. I'm stressed. That's my happy thought. I close my eyes. I'm like reading a book, cup of tea, cat. That's
just a million cats.
Just a million cats. All the cats. Happy.
The book's just a photo book of cats.
Even more cats. Just happy. So happy.
I get it. And it's so nice to know there's other people out there that actually like cats.
Exactly. They get a lot of slander.
They do. We're in the minority and it's a shame because they're amazing.
That's sad.
Much better than dogs, but we're not here to cause a battle. Whoever gets to this stage in the comment section is going to be like, yeah, like that little.
How dare you? How dare you? This is a travesty.
So, moving on to current job, Jane. I think you've done this job with 2 companies. Is that right?
Yes, I have. I did my training with first one, and then moved to the
So, go through the training and what was involved there.
So the training was with Strathclyde Uni. With the course is called it's CLT. I can't remember what it's, Central Law Training, I think that maybe stands for, but I'm not sure. But it's with Strathclyde Uni, so it is like a degree essentially at the end of it is what you get. And it's basically what I tell people is like I get stressed out when people are like, oh, so you're a lawyer. I'm like, don't tell people that. No, I am not. I don't want to be. Basically, so you can pick, it made sense for me to do child and family because that was, so my boss, that's the area of law that she specialises in. She's actually an accredited specialist in both of those fields. So it made sense for me to pick, of all the topics, you can do various things. You can do criminal, conveyancing, private client. There's like so much you can do. But that made sense for me, and it was all remote learning. So I did it all myself. You do modules, you have to you get tested, you get exams and stuff, and then you get a big scary final 3-hour exam that you do, which God bless her. So my office manager at my old work barricaded me, and I mean this, barricaded me in a room at my old work and like put up like obstacles almost so that no one could come to the room. And I mean, she was like, I was watching her because it was like, I think we agreed the exam would start at like 10 o'clock. So she was always like, she's just a wee cute old woman. So she was really short, and she was like stomping up like down the corridor, writing signs. And it was a massive long building. So there was different signs all the way up the corridor saying like, do not disturb. And I'm like, Nancy, I can't hear anything from along there. Like, you don't need to do, these steps are unnecessary. She put tape across part of the door so I could climb over it to get in, and then put more tape across it, put a set of ladders to block the door and the corner of the hall. How no one had an accident, I have no idea. But like had a full set of ladders across so no one could get in. I'm like, these steps are not necessary. This is too much. But just to make sure that no one would disturb me for the full 3 hours or whatever it was, 3.5 maybe, for this last exam.
I mean, you're in the right place for a claim if something does go wrong.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, I did. I think it's like 6 exams, and you have to pass all them before you're allowed to sit your last exam. So I did all them, and sat my last exam. I can't remember what I got. It was quite good, but then it's very niche, and I've been doing it for that long. So
see, I think you can't not remember. I think you were about to say the percentage, and it was really good.
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be that guy.
Go on.
I got 98% in my final exam.
I can't remember.
I don't want to be that guy. I'm like,
listen though. You should tell folks that.
I wouldn't like to be someone. I was very lucky, like where I was working, everything I was doing, everything I was learning, I was able to see in practice on a daily basis. So it went into my head so much quicker. Like I say, I feel like I'm the kind of person that's born to work. I need to see something, I need to be doing something to be able to grasp it properly. So it just worked out so well for me. I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't working where I was. And anyone can do it. Like, you could go onto their website right now and pay to do a paralegal course in conveyancing if you wanted. But yeah, it was good though. I loved it. I love my job.
So you got 98%. I'm going to say it again because it's good. What is the pass sort of percentage? What is?
It's is it 60 or 70? It's either 60 or 70.
So yeah, you passed.
Yeah, and that's me saying I don't test well. But again, it's I know I don't test well. But it's like a very specific, not specific questions in that they're easy. It's specific in that I know what I'm doing because I do it every single day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I know how to do forms and draft things and all the reading stuff that I have to do for my job and things like that. Like, I know this stuff, I do it on a daily basis.
For sure. So yeah. You've been through the job, you've went through the degree, you've done the 6 exams to allow you to get to this. You've bloody passed Ninja Warrior to get to the office to actually sit it. By the sounds of it. Yeah, exactly. It's 3.5 hours. That's a long time. What is it? Is it just questions or is it like scenarios?
So it's split into 3 parts. The first part is multiple choice. It's the smallest part, conveniently. The second part is mini essays. So you have to pick, you get a list of I think it's like, was it like 12 questions and you have to do 6? So you have to do 6 for X amount of marks, and then the last one is you have to draft. Obviously, this will change. I don't want to be giving any spoilers away for anyone who's done it, but I'd imagine it will change every year. I had to draft a minute of agreement, I think. So they give you a scenario with some information in it about a couple. So a minute of agreement is basically an agreement between 2 people, and I would use it in the context of, for me and the type of work I do, in sense of maybe a separation or a divorce or contact or something like that. So I got a scenario and I had to draft one of them, and like I say, that is something I do almost on a daily basis.
Yeah,
I do all the time. I did it even before I was actually put on my course for paralegaling, that's not even a word, for being a paralegal, sorry. I was doing stuff like that for my boss because I was doing stuff like that anyway. So that was the kind of the step. She was like, we need to be doing something because you're better than just being a legal secretary. So we need to try and do something. And I'd found that course and was like, this sounds like a bit of me. So things like that. So yeah, it's good.
It's yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds pretty intense, and I'm going to ask something that I think I've asked you and everyone I know that's a paralegal about 5 times because I just don't get it. What is a paralegal?
I thought you were going to ask me if it's like Rachel from Suits, because that's what everyone asks me.
I've never seen Suits, I'm sorry.
Never seen Suits. So everyone who finds out what I do and they've seen this TV show Suits asks me,
that's
do I do...
Markle, isn't it?
Yes, that's her character as a paralegal. Right, okay. So it is similar, but not quite. Like I said, you're not a solicitor. You don't. I couldn't appear at court. Well, I couldn't appear at court and get paid. So I don't do anything like that. So a lot of it is just drafting papers for people. Dealing with the public, taking instructions from people, corresponding with the other side, things like that. So I'm technically a qualified member of staff where I work, which means I've got a charge out rate, which I'm not going to tell you what that is. But yeah, I'm a qualified member of staff. A lot of it is drafting, not just, like I've said, minutes of agreements, writs, court documents, basically, documents that go to court. And documents that go to other solicitors to agree things like that. So take a lot of pressure off my boss as much as I can, because it's quite a high pressure. I seem to thrive in high pressure environments. I like to be. I think my mum says I like to be stressed because I'm always stressed. She's like, you must like it. So it's very high pressure, high intense stuff with court. Things like today was quite a stressful day. Things happen. This is the nature of the work, and that is different from other areas of law, is that it can be very drop of the hat, very high pressure, quite intense. One phone call could change the complete pattern of your day. Like someone phones, something's not been done, something, and it needs done there and then. So you have to be good at prioritising. You have to be good at organising yourself, which I'm not always amazing at, but I do try my best.
Yeah, well, it's hard to be brilliant at prioritising. Like, there's a lot of subjectivity there. There's, it's funny you say you like being stressed. I mean, like, I am so bad at stress. Like, so I used to think I never get stressed, right? And the truth is, I didn't see it at the time. And then my mum's probably listened to this thinking, finally he's noticed. And then in the weekend, I'd be like dead out of like, just knock me for 6. But now I'm like, I just barely have any stress in my life because I'm like, I can't deal with it. I'm not good with it. So fair play to you for being like that. And so I take it with just when I was listening to what you were saying there, it's now I'm not saying you're going to leave your job here, by the way, but it's for understanding what it means. Could a paralegal be self-employed, or is that not a thing that really happens? It can happen, yeah.
You can be locum. You can be so basically what I would do is I would work and I would just offer, like, so there's a lot. Basically, every solicitor works with a secretary. And and massive offices you'll have, like, I'm not saying where I used to work was massive, but it was a lot bigger than where I am just now. Right. Every solicitor was partnered up with a secretary, and that secretary would do the typing for that solicitor. So sometimes you've got offices, see if people are often sick, if people are on maternity leave, if you've got holiday cover you need. There are people, because I've seen it on LinkedIn and places before, there's people who basically say my availability for blah, blah, blah is Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday of the week coming. If anyone needs any cover for anything, please get in touch. So you can, it's called, it's like, it's being locum, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you can do that. I can't see myself doing the job that I do for anyone other than my boss.
Oh, really?
She is the most incredible woman I have ever met. Like, and I'm not even just saying that, like, I've never met anyone as hardworking, driven, passionate, just inspiring. Like, she's the reason I did my paralegal course, like anything like that. It's her business that I work for. She's started it, and we left where we were before, and she brought me with her to work for her.
Oh, I see. Right, okay. I couldn't work that out because I thought you'd done it before that place. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. So that's how, basically, I couldn't see myself doing what I do for anyone else. I wouldn't want to work for anyone else. We just click. She's also a massive cat person.
Oh, I see. It
works. Her cat's gorgeous. But she's honestly, like, every success and everything, like, and she's just brilliant. She's just so inspiring, like, hardworking, everything you would want your boss to be. I want to work for her. Like, I want our business to succeed. And I want to work for her. She's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
I hope you sympathise with me in this, because you can't empathise. All of my office are not cat people.
Oh no.
A moment's silence, please.
The two other girls that work with us are dog people.
Oh.
But it's an okay balance. It's fine. But they just don't get it. And that's fine, they never will.
I noticed you sold your boss much more than them.
The other people, dog people, I love them both dearly, but I worked with, it's been 6 years I've been working with my boss, all in, something like that. So.
And when you say your boss, is she a lawyer?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Got you.
Yes.
So I still kind of get it, but not fully, I'll be honest. But it's fine. I've got a question here that I'm scared is one of those questions that insults, like, your industry as the paralegaling industry. But it's not trying to be insulting. For what it's worth, four episodes ago, number 59, I had, who you may know, Gordon and Maria Atkinson Liggett on, her Wee Brown Hens. And Gordon gets sent away to Germany in this really sort of progressive scheme as part of Lomond Poultry, right? And I just meant to say, like, why were you chosen? And I just went, why you? So, like, I didn't do it, right? And I did it twice. We filmed the episode twice, so I ended up saying the same thing twice. Felt terrible, but this is kind of going to feel like one of them, and I'm pretty sure the answer is no. But can you go on from, you said you didn't want to do this, but can you go on from being a paralegal to being a lawyer?
Yeah, I just applied to uni, whatever one, and I'm not saying they would take me, but because of the qualification, it's like I meet the entry requirements. That makes sense. Yeah, right, okay. Which will make sense to you. So that qualification means I meet the entry requirements, and I probably, depending on the uni, I could. So if it was like Strathclyde or Cali or somewhere, I could go into year 2. But if it was Glasgow or somebody, it would just be year 1.
And that's year 2 of, is it 5? Is it?
So how it works for lawyers is you do 4 years, and then you do, what's it called? It's a long process. It's not as long as and ridiculous as being a doctor. It's nothing as insane as that. But it's something like 4 years at uni, and then they have to do, I think it's another year as I can't remember what it's called, which is really bad. The girl who in my work is going to kill me when she hears this, because we've got a trainee just now. So they do the 4 years, they do another year called whatever it's called. It'll probably come back to me tonight, and I'll wake up in my sleep and be like, this is what it is. And then they have to do 2 years on a traineeship. They have to do the diploma. It's called doing a diploma year. So they do that for a year, and then they have to get a traineeship. So basically getting a traineeship is really, really hard, especially because if you don't do it, you can't actually qualify properly.
Oh, see.
Other things, you can't actually appear at court. You can't be a lawyer in the traditional sense. You can go into other careers, social work, other things like that, but you can't. So basically a firm has to hire you for 2 years and teach you how to be a lawyer, and then you set you free, and well, they'll either keep you on or set you free, and you can lawyer till your wee heart's content, whatever you want. Oh my God,
in fairness, it's law. So, you know.
It's, I mean, I don't know. My mum thinks I should do it. I don't know. I just don't have time. The amount of people that are like, why don't you just do it? You're halfway there anyway. And I'm like, it's such a big chunk of my life.
You're not quite halfway there. Like you've done.
I know, that's the thing. Yeah.
Knowledge-wise, maybe, but.
Yeah, I wouldn't. And the thing is, as well, like there's so many things. Like the diploma, I'd probably the 4 or 3 years that I'd have to do at uni would be quite intense, because basically what they teach you at uni when you're doing law is the law. Like it's not like about being a lawyer; it's about the law, which is not everyone's cup of tea, which is fine. It's quite intense. And then you do your diploma, which is a wee bit more lawyery in the traditional sense, and then your traineeship is like you go into a law firm and you're there for 2 years to learn your trade, basically.
So, I mean, I'm not telling you to be a lawyer. I'm just asking more questions here. It sounds like you're quite happy doing what you're doing, and that's important in itself. But if you were to go for that, would you have to leave work for 4 years, or could you do it alongside?
It would take a lot. I'd have to do it part time. So I'd be you can do law part time,
Right.
but it just takes longer.
A long time, yeah.
Like any course, like you're doing it part time, it is longer. I mean, my boss would be very flexible with me. We've had conversations about it before, and I would like to think I would probably get to do my traineeship with her if she would have me. I'd like to think she would. Be quite awkward if she didn't. I'm like, oh, right, okay. I'm like, burn. But yeah, I could, but she needs someone. So it is quite a small office, but the other girl who's the legal secretary there, she's only in 3 days and I'm in 5 days a week.
Okay.
She needs someone there, like 5 days a week, pretty much doing stuff for it. Like I say, it's very intense, high pressure, a lot of work, getting churned out and things like that. But it's good. I like it. Keeps me young.
If you went for your traineeship with her and she said no, it was like the last time I've been nice of you in a podcast.
Exactly. Take it back. Wallace, scrap it. Get rid of it.
The whole part. Delete it all.
Take it all out.
Yeah, exactly. Here, it's been quite a, what would we say, roller coaster of a career for you, everywhere and everything.
Yeah, I know. It's very unpredictable in that sense. Very unpredictable.
Yeah, who knows what's next?
Exactly.
We'll have you on in 2 years and you'll almost be a lawyer.
Never get.
But the reason, well, not the only reason, but probably the main reason I wanted to have you on was talking about young farmers. And I'm sorry I'm going to do this, but I have done a thing that you didn't know I was going to do. Whole podcast. And what do you think you know what it is?
No, I don't like where this is going. I'm horrified. No, don't.
I thought I'd take a little tally of how many times you mentioned young farmers without me bringing it up, right?
No. It won't be that bad, will it? Oh, no, that's so bad. That's so embarrassing. It's so bad.
You've said the phrase young farmers without me mentioning it. Now, I mentioned it at the start, but without me provoking you saying it. You said there's levels to young farmers. And I think you've said that correct. You know, there's people like me who join at 25, having tried to, in fairness, having been a chairperson, a secretary, and a treasurer of a Young Farmers Club back in the day. Yep, of Arran. Even though it didn't last very long, but we tried.
We did try.
We had one session in Corrie. It was good crack. But there's levels to it. There's people like myself who join at 25. They really enjoy it. I mean, I really have enjoyed it. I said to Colin, well, you haven't seen this because I'm filming this before Colin's episode's even released. But I kind of call out Ayrshire Young Farmers in it, right? And it's nothing against young farmers. No. Hear me out. It's nothing against young farmers. It was against what I wanted from young farmers. I thought the young farmers in Ayrshire was very intense. Now, intense is probably the wrong word, but you guys go hard. You run it like a business, which is great. I just had that from the uni side. I didn't need that side, right? Yeah. So I've joined Lower Nistdale. It's just great crack. Love it, that sort of thing. Not that I'm saying you guys aren't. It's just at this age, this is where I've joined. Just go and do stuff. That's the lowest level, I would say, joining at 25. You then get folk that join. They just sort of go here and there. You get folk that get into office bearing and really get involved. You get folk that sort of live their life for young farmers. And then you get the mental people in Young Farmers, and then you get you, right?
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
There's few people at your level. There really is. I mean, I don't. A few people spring to mind, and I might say their name, and you'll say, "No, they're nothing compared to me," so I won't do that. But you really have lived a life of Young Farmers. You're 27. When did you start with Young Farmers?
14.
So you've done it.
Yep.
The full 14 is when it kicks off. You've done.
I've done everything. I've done all.
You have.
I have. I literally have.
You're actually one away from having done everything.
Yeah, the full set. Yeah, I'm 1 year away from the full, as far as I can physically go without becoming a paid member of staff. Like, I can't go any further as a volunteer.
So we'll get into where you are and all that, but just when you've mentioned that, do you have to have been at the level you're at to be a paid member of staff, or can anyone can you apply for a job?
You can apply for a job. Anyone can. They're actually recruiting just now for someone in the north to do basically events coordination and stuff like that. So anyone could apply. What we would say is that when you are at my level of office bearer, you wouldn't apply to be a staff member because you're not then impartial, if that makes sense. So, but like anyone, you could, I mean, I doubt you would, but you could literally go onto their website and apply for the job just now. Anyone can.
Yeah. Well, there you are. I mean, I don't know if it'll still be open because this is being filmed about, God, I'm really far ahead at the minute. It's like 3 months ahead or something like that. So it might not be open, but there might be more ones open. So tell us, I really want to sort of focus on this. I did with Colin as well. I think Colin started a wee bit later than 14, but kind of.
I think he was more of what I refer to as a social member.
That's right.
And then, then kind of get more into like being club chairman and stuff. I think he did a lot of travelling and stuff as well. So that's kind of why he was a wee bit later than me.
I think he became sports convener, whatever the word is, at like 20, I think he said. But, you know, still in from quite a young age. But you've sort of really kicked off at 14. And I want to sort of speak to you about that for one main reason. Well, two, to hear your story. And then also, for those of you listening, I know a lot of you guys that listen are maybe trying to get into farming, or you're from farming and you're just wanting to know more stuff and whatever. Young Farmers is a thing that I'll say my bit on Young Farmers first and then hear yours, Jane, that I wish I had done earlier with a bigger club. Now, don't get me wrong, I think I'm doing okay, but like it would have benefited me hugely, especially when I moved to mainland. Don't laugh at me saying mainland, but we were on Arran, we knew who everyone was. Meeting that network, especially in farming, is very important. Young Farmers is bloody brilliant for that, even if you're not from farming and don't intend on being in farming. It's brilliant for that. So could you tell us, Jane, what was involved in you starting at 14? And the one thing that I'm sure a lot of people will ask is, I don't want to go. Everyone's 18, knows everyone, and gets, it's quite a nerve-wracking thing.
It is scary. I think I don't want to say it wasn't like, it was never like an option, like it was always going to happen, like, but my mum and dad had both, and my grandparents had all been either in a member of a club and my mum and dad my dad's a past chairman of Crossroads, my mum's a past secretary. My grandparents were in Loudon and Galston, which is not a club that exists anymore, but the members from there would have filtered into Crossroads. So I went, I think I would want to say it's a new members night was my first meeting, but it's been that long, I wouldn't like to say exactly what it would have been, but it was, I feel like as well with the club as well, there's a big thing for some people as well about what club you pick. Some people pick their club, like there was no other club for me, like I was blinkers on, it was Crossroads Young Farmers that I was joining. There was no chance on this earth that I'd be joining any other club in Ayrshire. I couldn't see myself in any other club. That's what I wanted to do, the club I wanted to be in. I know, that's the thing. My dad would stop me. Like, I'm not going to say which club, but if I joined another club in Ayrshire, but my dad would think my dad would ever speak to me. He'd be furious with me. absolutely furious. And as well, because parents are such a key part of like helping with the training and stuff.
Yeah.
If I joined this other club and said to my dad, "Oh, can you come and help with concert?" He'd have been like, "When hell freezes over, you wouldn't have done it." No.
When you're talking about people going to McCaskey's trying to sell you off, you'd be trying to sell you off to the rubbish ones now.
Just take it, have her. Don't give me anything, just take it off my hands, honestly. But yeah, I was so hell bent as well in joining. Like I know like some of the people that I was friends with at that age, their parents were like, "No, you're not going." Whereas mum and dad were like, "We'll drop you off. We'll take you to Craigie. On you go. You'll go enjoy yourself." Like I did my first concert with people I'm still friends with now. Like people I went to school with, their parents didn't let them do that first concert because they were that wee bit too young.
Right.
And it's like 2011, I think. And my mum and dad, who are just such big advocates of young farmers, were like, "Go and do it. Like you'll love it." And I made friends with other people that was my age doing concert from like Eaglesham, like people like Andrew Taylor, who literally lives like 15 minutes away from the farm, just on the same road, who I'd never really known, who I'm still like considered as one of my closest friends because we did this concert at the same time. And you had to become like, if you don't have anyone to talk to, do you know what I mean? Like it's if you don't make friends then, or you don't like try and put yourself out there, then obviously everyone's so lovely, so it's not a big issue. But like I'm still really good friends with these people today, because of joining Young Farmers at that age. And basically none of my friends were allowed to join. I have to make new ones. Yeah. That makes sense. Like, yeah.
And you're maybe not the best example for this question, just because it was so ingrained in your family, all that sort of thing, and you were going to be there no matter what. Yeah, your mum and dad were going to drop you off even if you didn't want to, by the sounds of things. What would you say to folk? Because I assume part of your job's the wrong word, but your role is to get more members and whatnot. What would you say to a 14-year-old who's looking to join?
I think how it's always been ingrained with me in recruiting new members and things like that is being as positive as you can, encouraging people to go. Like, no, I'm not saying pick them up and force them to go. That's not what I'm saying. Although back in the day, that is kind of what happened to an extent, is you just get put in a car and you're like, right, we're going. Okay, you're going. But just reinforcing how good it is, making sure people are aware of every opportunity afforded to them, whether they are 14 or 24, like there's still the same opportunities are open to you. Enjoying the fun times that you get with it. Like we have like bowling, things like that. It doesn't need to be this big, scary, serious thing. Like I know how scary it can be. You're going to a hall sometimes in the middle of nowhere, pretty much, or what it feels like when I was 14. Craigie felt like the middle of nowhere. It's a 6-minute drive, okay? And it felt like
hours and hours.
You've been in the car for hours, it's been 5 minutes. And going through the double doors into Craigie, as every new member will have to do, whereas now I'm just like, push the door open, don't care, I'm here, don't care. Whereas like taking that first step and going in there, being welcoming, offering lifts, just making people feel as at ease as possible, because it is scary. Like, especially if it's easier when if you come in like a 2 or a 3 or a group or whatever, it is easier because you've also got that wee safety net of like my friends right over there. But like even at new members night, we mix teams, we put people together, you get to know other people, and once you get past that first couple, then you're like, this is actually quite good. Like, I actually quite like this. Like, oh, he's really funny, or like she's really nice. Like at our new members night, they were all like all the wee ones, the 14, 15-year-olds were like sharing their social medias and stuff, and like people they'd never met were just making connections with people, and like, oh, actually they're really nice. And like some people sometimes as well, like you go to school with they go to school with each other, don't even realise that there's this kind of link with young farmers or whatever, and then they've got that as well. And like that's what they're chatting about. Oh, what are you doing at the weekend? Oh, I'm going to this young farmers, I'm going bowling tonight, or I'm doing this, or I'm cattle dressing, or things like that. And just making them feel as welcome and as making it as warm an environment as possible, which is quite easy, to be fair, because everyone is so nice. Like they are, like they're not there to be horrible and whatever. They're there to make you feel welcome. Because if you don't make people feel welcome, they're not going to come back. You don't have new members, all your members will leave. You don't have a club. So, and that's the last thing you want.
And also, I assume the way I've found it with Lower Nith, I'm obviously one of the older ones now, and I haven't had the nervousness of joining yet. They had me at a panel night, and I was their guest speaker just before I joined. So like, it's not like I wasn't.
I was on that same panel.
No, I know. Like I know you. Know you're in the same panel. I guess I'm speaking to the viewers more than but that was a good panel. I enjoyed that.
It was very.
Apart from one question that came my way.
Cammy Wilson is hilarious.
Oh yes,
Cammy,
yeah,
so funny.
absolutely.
You're all right.
Wow. I was just going to say, so were you and Laura, but I don't know if I will. Do you know what I'm going to say, actually? Because you pointed this out. You're 1 year off of having been in Young Farmers for as long as you haven't been.
Oh, don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. No, don't do that.
But one thing I found is you said, like, no one's not going to be nice to you. The way it feels is if someone is, they're going to get called out for it.
It's 100%.
Yeah.
We don't put up with. I mean, obviously, I can't speak for every club. I've only ever actually been a member of one club. I've never been in another club at all. But we don't. That's not the point of it. It's not the point of it is to be. I don't want to say it's like a family because that's very cliche, but
it's a bit though.
It's a wee bit, and they are your support network. They're your friends. Like they're your best men, your bridesmaids, your aunts and uncles to your children. Like they're. Like people, you make these friends for life. The people that my mum and like dad are friends with, like my dad's best man, he met at Young Farmers.
Mm-hmm.
Like his best friend, he met at Young Farmers. Like my best friend, I met at Young Farmers. So it is people that you.
I didn't know I met you at Young Farmers.
I know. Who knew? Who knew?
It does have that sort of just. I know what you said about family feeling cliched, but it does have that vibe about it. You're obviously a Mauchline loyal. I mean, a Crossroads loyal.
No, don't do that.
How many members has Crossroads got? Roughly.
Over 100.
Now, Crossroads in my head was always sort of one of the biggest ones. Is that true? Or
yep. Yeah. So Crossroads they were the biggest club in the country for a wee while. They're not anymore, but they'll be just over 100. I want to say 100 and I don't want to guess, but I don't want to guess. But at the same time, I do as West chair. I get the membership list emailed to me, so I could look, but I'm not going to do that. But it's over 100. It's over 100.
Do you know who the biggest club is in the country? Just you see that. Yes. Can I have a guess?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to be so far. Well, it's going to be so embarrassing. This just seems like a big club to me because it's got 3 names. Maybe you already know, I'm guessing. Oh, is it not?
No.
And they're ancient as well. Are they not going to be like 80 this year, or one of them is, or something like that?
Who are you think? Yeah, do you mean 3 S's?
Yeah.
Hendrick, Strathkelvin, and what is it? Stirling? No, something like that.
Yeah,
I should know
Stirling
that.
Something. But I had Catherine Dick on the podcast.
Strathendrick, Strathkelvin. And Stirling. I don't think it is Stirling. I don't think one of the 3 S's is Stirling.
Stirling's definitely one because it's the only one I ever know. Yeah, I say Stirling draft ones. But yeah, so what is the biggest?
You don't want another guess?
It's right. Okay, is it near here or is it north?
No, it's not in Dumfries and Galloway.
Is it Aberdeen?
No, it's in the west. That's how I know it. That's in the west.
Oh, is it Ayr?
No.
Is it Mauchline? It's got one of those two.
Actually, see, now I'm thinking about it, I'm actually stuck between 2.
Stranraer? Rins?
No, I've just told you it's not a D&G club.
Is that D&G? That seems like it's closer to there. I thought it was
Galloway and Dumfries and Galloway.
Ayr, Mauchline, Crossroads are the 3 away. Beath is tiny.
Beath's not tiny. It's just smaller. It's not tiny.
It was like the same size as Arran when we were going.
I'll have to defend. So my chairman, Ayrshire district chairman last year, David, is from Beath. So if I don't defend Beath right now, I'll be getting an absolute mouthful from him.
But David's in Crossroads, is he not?
No, David Campbell. You're thinking of David Smith.
Oh, right, okay. So what is the biggest one?
It's either... I think if I was to get... I think it might be bigger.
Oh, bigger, yeah. That's
quick. Yeah,
I
know. Yeah, I know. Pretty well. If you go, yeah, it's not far until you start getting into East clubs past that. So yeah, but that's bigger as part of the West.
Of course, yeah, bigger.
Part of Lanarkshire district.
And what was that? You said bigger or someone you thought?
No, I'm fairly confident it's bigger. Fairly confident it's bigger.
What was the other one you thought it might be?
Maybe Curluke.
Right. Okay.
I'm fairly if I'm bigger. Correct. The email came to me the other day, and I did always have a wee look at it just to see who, and just to make sure everyone's membership level is not like low or like silly low. Because there's low and then there's silly low. There's some clubs that you expect to run kind of smaller membership numbers, and that's fine because I know that they're absolutely fine. But they're all, there's like 4 or 5 clubs probably over 100 members in the West now, maybe a bit more than that.
And now I'm not just mentioning this. Sorry, not just mentioning this club because I'm in it. Lower Nithsdale is a lot of people, and it's a hell of a lot bigger than I thought it would be. Yeah,
and do you know why that is? I better not say it.
No, I do know why it is, because you told me. You said that they were stealing off Crossroads.
Not off Crossroads. Well, maybe one member off Crossroads, but that's only because she's moving down. They would argue, I mean, if you ask any of their committee, they'd probably argue that they're stealing me. But no, I have a little running joke with Lower Nithsdale that the reason that there is such a big club and such a distance is because they keep poaching and stealing members. And I may or may not have referred to them as a cult in a joking sense before any of them say anything, because they do. They've got so many members. But yeah,
80 something, I think.
Yeah, probably around that.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good going for down here, even if they have stolen members. And on stealing members, by the way, I knew there was something I meant to say to you. A certain Isa, which isn't a real name, I always forget her real name, Jennifer Bryson.
Jennifer, yeah.
Her and Katie and Elaine basically told me I was doing the Crossroads concert, which I am not, by the way, because
I know you're not. You've not been at practices. You've not been there.
And further to that point, you're starting in summer. Like, it's intense.
Like these concerts in October.
Yeah, but you can start in October.
No.
And we mentioned new members nights, and I'm really going to test your memory of Crossroads Young Farmers here. I was actually at a new members night for Crossroads years ago.
Did Taylor bring you? Scott Brown or someone? John Heavy? Someone like that bring you? Robert Campbell?
Right, okay, let's see if you get it. Nope.
Who would have brought you? It would be one of the SRUC boys.
It looks like you're enjoying this.
Mark Guthrie.
No, it was in my year.
David Smith.
Yeah.
Yes. I always get it.
Seventh doesn't count. And I was so nervous.
Why?
I'm quite shy, Jen. Quite shy.
Oh yeah, sorry, of course.
Yeah, of course. I forgot. It was 8 years ago. In my defence, it was 8 years ago. I was just a young pup. But we get into with Colin sort of moving up the ranks and stuff like that, and it was quite interesting to see, that transition from, as you said, social member, and in his defence, as he said, how quick did you start thinking, I want to go somewhere with this and jump into that sort of thing?
So probably the easiest way to do this, if we just run through quickly when it started. So my first office bearer role would have been when I'm better at doing this in ages as opposed to years.
Yeah.
So I would have been 18 when I was assistant secretary of the club. I'd have been 19. I was 19. My first year in committee was when I was 18, and then I did a year in committee, went on as assistant secretary, and was club secretary when I was 20, turned 21 halfway through that. Came off of being secretary of the club, and my chairman would have been Craig McWhirter. So I've had quite a few chairs. So that was fine.
That would be the year you guys came to us, 2015, 7 years ago.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Was that what was the theme for that? We were dressed up.
It was Still Game, and I was the only one that did it.
Yes, because you were Naveed.
No, we can't talk about it. I was totally not a corner shop owner. Right, let's continue.
Sorry, tangent. Anyway, oh my god. Sorry, there was no pictures of that, obviously. So after that, I'm not going to lie, so I was a wee bit scunnered. I didn't really enjoy being club secretary as much as I thought I would. I found it really hard, and I think that's an age thing. I was far too young. Like, I don't think you should be doing stuff like that until you're older. And by older, I mean like in your maybe mid-20s, early mid-20s, I would say, like 23, 24, I think is a good age to be doing anything like that, because it is a huge responsibility. It's a lot of weight on your shoulders, especially, I think, the pressure. Not every club's like this. I should preface this by saying, but there's Crossroads is, I would never join another club. I love that club and every opportunity it's gifted me, but it's a very hard club to run in that it's massive. Yeah. We have members from Eaglesham, Dalry, Muirkirk. Like, it is humongous, and it's a lot of pressure. Like, it's a very traditional club as well, so there's a lot of that as well. Everything should be done like a certain way. Yep. So I struggled with that a wee bit, being as young as I was as well. It was really hard, so I was a wee bit scunnered after that. Still really loved it though. I was took a couple of years to enjoy being a club member again. Oh, I say I was a club member again. I also sat in committee. I only came off a club committee last year, and that's because basically I wasn't sitting in club, Ayrshire, West and National. Like, something had to give. So I came off my last year. Club committee was last year. I came off at the AGM this year. Since I was 18, I'd sat on that committee, so almost 10 years. It was time to I'd done my year as secretary. I was concert secretary of the club last year to help them out a wee bit, to kind of bridge a gap between some of the younger girls and the older girls. And then I thought, that's me. Come off on a high. Really pleased with how it's went. So took a wee gap, and then got the opportunity to be Ayrshire District Treasurer.
I just want to quickly check something here, and I might be wrong. Were you never chair or vice chair of Crossroads?
No, never.
No, right, okay, great.
I've never been chairman up until this year of anything. So the path that I saw myself on, which is limiting myself probably, is that I was like, I'm a girl, so I need to be secretary, which is just nonsense. It's so silly. It's such a silly mindset, and I'm so glad we've moved away from that as much. Now, and I've moved away from it myself, obviously, with what I'm doing just now. But, so I did that, got to be district treasurer, which was great. Did a year of that, then went on as Ayrshire assistant secretary, and that's when COVID hit. So that was a really hard year. Basically, I delivered my accounts as treasurer on Zoom, which was really hard, and we thought, well, this will be a couple of weeks, no problem. In the next full year, I was assistant secretary and couldn't do anything, which was really hard for me. Then once I got on to being Ayrshire secretary, which I've only just finished last year, I got that and was West Area vice chairperson at the same time, which was a massive step in that the only other person who'd done that specific role of being West Chair from the club was Andrew Ireland. Yeah. So that was a big thing for me. Luckily, it was a very straightforward AGM. There was no one running against me. I hadn't threatened anyone not to. I should clarify that. It was very much a fair race that I won. But I was determined. I'd done a lot to help the West. I'd seen like Katie Burns and Hazel Watt, girls, and Gail Allen, who was the chair when I was vice, do all these things before me. And I was just like, I want to do this. Like, I want to be this. This is what I want to do. So ran Ayrshire District as secretary along with David Campbell, who was my chairman. And whilst doing West stuff, kind of in the background of that as vice chair, it's not really, it is your job when you're doing West Vice. Colin's probably told you this already, is pretty much supporting your chair as much as possible. So that's kind of what I did. That's what he does. To give him credit.
You at the minute, you're West chair at the minute.
Yes. So that moves us on to now. Yeah. So I am West Area chairperson, and I am currently national vice chair. That was a wee bit harder to get.
I can imagine.
It normally goes to vote. I mean, it can be anyone in the country that goes for it. So it was a vote between me and a girl from the East, and we stood up at the national AGM, did our wee speeches why we should be national vice, and I won the vote for it. So, which was very, very unexpected. I kind of talked myself out of thinking I would get it. Colin talked me back into thinking I would get it, as he normally does. And yeah, here we are. Living the dream.
When you say unexpected, is that unexpected in your head, or was it unexpected?
I talked myself into thinking I'm going to get that. If I go for this, I'm going to get this. And then the closer it got, like we had a meeting the night before the AGM, and I was pacing around a hotel room at 3 a.m. thinking, what earth am I doing here? Like, I'm so out my depth. Like, this is like nothing I'd ever even thought I would be able to achieve, because this is mass. In terms of young farmers, national is the highest you can go. National being is the highest you can go. And for a girl from Ayrshire, I was like, no chance. But yeah.
Did the person that you, I don't know if the word's beat, but the person you picked to the post, are they still involved at national level?
She's an office bearer. She is East chair. So she's my equivalent. She's my equivalent in the East, basically, this year.
That's the strange thing. So you're almost like three things at once. Yeah. So you're district, which means
not anymore.
No, you're not that.
I was district last year, but I came up. I'm now like past Ayrshire secretary.
Got you. Okay.
I still do other things like that, but last year was quite mad. Last year I was a club concert secretary, Ayrshire district secretary, and West Area vice chair.
And preparing to try and go for vice chair.
It was in the headspace that I'm going to go for national.
Aye.
I've decided at kind of Christmas time. I probably decided and then I'd spoken to my mum about it. I spoke to my mum about it. I spoke to my friend Laura about it, and I'd spoke to Colin about it.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I kind of spoken to about it.
So when you say west, you've also said east. Is that it? Is it east and west? Is that all?
So there's north as well. If you go up, so it's split into 3. Right. So there's north, east, and west. Your west is down as Dumfries and Stranraer to like bigger, Loch Lomond, that kind of way, and then your east is like Edinburgh, Perth, that kind of St Andrews, Fife kind of way, and then your north is massive. Like,
I was going to say, what's the biggest of the 3 member wise?
Probably member wise, will be. Either west or north. West or east will probably be the biggest when it comes to paid like members, whereas the north is the biggest distance you'll travel. Yeah. I know it's. I mean, I don't get stressed out. Like, I've got a Dumfries and Galloway meeting tomorrow night, which will be an hour and a half drive down the road for me.
Yeah.
But that's nothing compared to like. That's me going to another district, like up in the north. They are travelling that sometimes between clubs.
That's it.
Like, I don't know how they do it. Like, it's almost as well. So there's just one north chair, the same as there's one west and there's one east. But north is actually split into Highland and Grampian because it's so big. I'm not saying we don't. We obviously get islands. Like, we've got like Butte is a really thriving club in the west. They've got like 40 something members. Like, really, really good.
I've got a lot of students from Butte Young Farmers. Really
nice bunch of people as well. But like on the north, they've got like Orkney, Shetland, like that. Like, there's Butte, and then there's, do you know what I mean? Like, there's levels to like your island living, and so it's massive. But proud Westie, as I'd be called, a Westie.
As national vice chair, this is a question that you might know the answer to. You also might not. How many young farmers are in Scotland? No idea. That's not a thing you can offer.
I could work it out. Probably it would take me a while to do it. I don't like. There won't be any more than 4,000.
I was thinking 5.
There won't be any more than that. I'm just thinking there won't be any more than 4, maybe 3.5.
But you say won't be any more. That's, isn't that?
Well, that's just people in.
It's 1,000th of the population. That's a fair chunk, really, when you look at it. So you're vice national chair at the minute. Katie's your chair, isn't she?
Lucy,
Katie's
just come off as being national chair.
Lucy Mitchell.
Lucy Mitchell.
Yeah. What is involved? I mean, there's being chair of a club of 100. There's then being chair of a district in an area and whatever, and however many. Well, you haven't been chair of a club, you know, that sort of thing. Chair of a few folk. You're now chair of potentially 4,000. What's involved in that? I mean, what? There's got to be a lot.
I mean, there's so many levels to it that people can't even comprehend. Like, so many. It is essentially, in a very basic way, you are chairperson of X amount of, like, 4,000 members, for example. But it's very much a case of you're the top of the tree in a sense, and you've got people underneath you who are chair people of. So you sit as national chair, there's subcommittees underneath you for this, like, the branches of young farmers that are the most, that need, like, everything goes into a subcategory. So there's competitions and events, there's finance, international travel, agri and rural affairs, comms and marketing, development and wellbeing, which is a huge one for us just now, in terms of mental health and things like that. I have missed a couple out, and whoever the chairs are probably going to throttle me for missing them out. But yeah, so they've all got chairs of each of those subcommittees of chairs. You've also got your 3 chairs of, like, your north, east, and west. So a lot of it's managing them on that, because you can't get to 4,000 people, but you can get to like a level below. I want to say a level below you. It
is though, yeah. I know.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah. But you can get to them and get the message down from them. You set aims. So as national chair, you need to set aims for the year. You have to do that pretty much anyway, but these aims are for the organisation as a whole, as opposed to, like, my West aims, for example, only affect the West. They're not for everyone. Whereas you set initiatives, things like that. There's a lot of travelling involved in it. It's as much travel, to be fair, in terms of travelling, it's as much or as little as you want to do. I know that I feel like the personal approach, as much as I can take, obviously I work a 9 to 5. I can't go up to Aberdeen on a Tuesday if I leave work at 5 o'clock. Like, I'll be there and the meeting will be finished. But I can go to Perth, or I can go to Stranraer, I can go to Dumfries, I can go to Edinburgh, other places, Dundee if I'm putting the foot down. Like, I can, like, obviously, and it's the same. Lucy's based in, well, her club is West Fife. So it's quite a good base for the two of us to cover.
Yeah.
Quite a good, yeah. So I deal with the West anyway, because it's my job to deal with the West. But it's quite good. Like, I'm very lucky where I am. Like, I'm never too far away. Like, my lowest down meeting in Dumfries is Castle Douglas, for example, and that'll be in 20 minutes, an hour and a half. Whereas that, and then I can go up the way to a Lanarkshire meeting or a Clyde Central one. Ayrshire ones are the best because they're 6 minutes from my house. But can't always be that easy. And whereas Lucy's is good as well. Like, she can go up north. It's easier for her to go up north than it is for me during the week. She can cover the east really well. I try and go to as much as I can, but again, I just need to be realistic with because obviously at the end of the day, I have a job that pays my mortgage and such, and Young Farmers is essentially a hobby, but to the level I'm doing it, it's kind of like running 2 full-time jobs. That's what it feels like. Like, I finish my 9 to 5 and I put my work computer off, and then I go in and it's like my Young Farmers one, and I'm like, right, what am I doing tonight? Where am I going? Like, I always need to plan ahead. Like, I know, I've planned tomorrow that I need to leave work at such and such time to make it down to Dumfries to, like, I need to be organised. I need to know where I'm going and what I'm doing, because if I'm not, then I'll not get anything done. I'll not get anywhere. And that's not the goal of this year, because a year's such a short time in Young Farmers as well, I think.
Yeah.
Like, so much I want to do, so much I want to achieve, and it's such a small time frame. And I also want to leave the West, and the way I found it, which was, like, thriving. Obviously, I want to leave it like that for Colin as well when he takes over from me, and then whoever takes on from him. So that's
And obviously, sort of, Lucy's not your boss, but she's sort of like the next one up. Yeah. Once you get to national chair in Lucy's position at the minute, do you have like who do you report to, or do you not?
No, I do. I'm not just like free reign, do what I want. Like, here we go. So SAYFC is structured that they have a chief executive who is Penny Montgomery. So she's we support each other, is how I like to think of it. And she already does, to be fair. Like if I need anything, like I was on the phone with her the other day, that's who I'd kind of report to. There is paid members of staff, obviously. So you're kind of below Penny is Sheena, who does all your national stuff, and then below that is your kind of regional like events coordinator people. So I deal with Emily, who I was on the phone with at lunch today, who helps me organise all my West events. There's a person, she also does the East as well. They're recruiting for someone in the North. There's also someone that does like comms stuff. Paul does the comms stuff. There's Janelle, who does some of the stuff in the North and some of the international stuff. They've got, so there is supports in place. It's not just volunteers that run it all.
Is Elspeth Dale involved, or is she? Maybe you don't know Elspeth.
Mm-mm.
I think she was involved with young farmers for. What's that?
Even before me. So when the dinosaurs roamed the earth.
She's for sure. Yeah. Now I've said that about Elspeth. I mean, she's. I don't know what age Elspeth is, but her son will be late 40s. So she's been involved. Like I think from an employee perspective in young farmers. Maybe she's not anymore. But yeah, so maybe for those of you listening, it's been we've really went over, basically covered everything that can happen in young farmers, and the ways you can get there. I'm going to ask you a question, Jane. I asked this to Colin as well, and I'm interested to see if it's the same answer you have. And it's about Colin. Do you think he'll go for national vice chair? Do you think he should go for national vice chair?
That's two very different things.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Yeah. I don't want to speak out of turn about him, but I don't know because I don't know what he would have told you about when he went for West Vice.
He didn't really talk much about that. No, we didn't go into that.
How convenient, because I've never. So I had called. Oh God, I might as well. So when Colin had told me very specifically that he was not going for West Vice, and you have to ask, you don't have to ask, but you go around all of them and kind of put feelers out for who's kind of maybe going for something. You speak to everyone pretty much, or people. A lot of time people will approach you and say, "I was thinking about doing this." You give them a bit of advice, say, "This is the process. This is what you need to do." That's fine. So I think I was on the phone with him on the Friday, and I just to basically checking in on a couple of D&G things because he'd just taken over his chair, and I had one last go because I was like, he would be so good as West. And I say that because we're so different, but and I'll say this to him as well, we just click. Mm-hmm. And it works that we're so different. I'm very intense and very organised and very stressed. And I'm not saying he's carefree, but he's very much it'll be fine. We'll do this and it'll be fine. And he's really good with ideas, and he's very calming. He just brings everything back down a level to where it needs to function. Whereas I'm so highly strung, you wouldn't believe. So he was like, I'm not going for it. I'm not doing it. I was like, okay, whatever. That's fine. Sunday comes around, and that's the day of the AGM. We're in Lanark. He's competing at West Club of the Year anyway, so he's up early to do that. And we're watching, and I'll never forget this, we're watching a dog show in the bottom of Lanark Market. We're upstairs, there's a dog show, and he's leaning in the banister, he turns around to me, and he's just like, yeah, I think I'll go for that. And I just about hit the roof with him. I'm like, you better be joking. You better be joking. I was like, you've not put me through this stress for no reason. And he's sitting there, poor Louise Patterson is there, and she's like, I'm just going to leave you to fight this out. So me and him are having because there's a dog show going on, we're having a quiet shouting match about how selfish this is and how I've been so stressed. And I'm obviously deep down, I'm like, thank God he's came to his senses. But I knew at that point there was other people going for it. So I was like, it's going to be a fight if you want to get it. Anyone else, the other two people who are going for it are also excellent candidates. It'll just come down to a vote. So me and him are having this back and forth whisper argument. So then I storm off because I'm going for my dinner. I'm sitting sulking at dinner saying, I can't believe he's done this. It gets to it and he stands up and he's in his suit already because he's done Club of the Year. A suit that doesn't fit him, by the way, and it's discoloured. He's obviously had the top dry cleaned and not the bottoms. So it's discoloured. It's hilarious if you're ever to see it. And he does his speech and he's looking at me, and then there's 3 people, so it gets now down to 2. So one person goes out in the first round of voting. It's now down to 2, and the bit of paper gets sat down after they vote for a second time, and I see the C, and I'm just like, how has this happened? I'm obviously really happy, but I'm just like, on Friday, he was not doing it at all. 100% wasn't doing it. Sunday, he's sat next to me getting his picture taken because he's gone on his West Vice. It's absolutely crazy. So I think he would make an absolutely fantastic national chair. Like, and I mean that. He's so good at what he does, and he's so personable, and just he's a brilliant example of being a proper young farmer, taking opportunities in front of you with both hands and doing it all. And I'm so glad he's my vice. I really am. I'm so glad he is. However, I think it would tip him over the edge. I genuinely, he's not going to. Okay. If it's going to tip him over the edge. West is hard enough, especially he's running two businesses. Well, not running two businesses. He's got his own business, and he's obviously doing his work as well. Yeah. National would be too much for him, which is a shame, because he would be absolutely brilliant. I've said I think he'll be a better West chair than what I am. I think he will be, because he's just so good. And we're just, Sheena, who's one of the staff members, always says the two of us were like, we can read each other's minds. We're just very.
It does seem like
like we could just very like intuitive, and just I can pull him a look and he knows exactly what's going on. But it's a shame for SAYFC to miss out on him potentially being national vice, because he would do, as I say to him at West, he'd be one of the best chairs they would ever see. Truly, and I mean that. And unfortunately, he is going to hear this, which is just a thorn on my side. But he's not. If he's got any sense, I don't want to say never, because with what he sprung on me at West, but national is just probably a wee bit too much in terms of the time he can give to it, because you need to give. It's a full year of your life you have to give to SAYFC. And I'm okay.
Funny. Yeah, well, that's it. It's funny seeing you guys be really nice about each other, because every time I've seen you together, like, you're talking about that silent argument you were having. Yeah. Like, it's that, but not silent all the time.
Not silent, just
24/7.
Each other, just literally hurling like horrible things at each other. But like that'll happen, and then 2 minutes later he'll be like, "Have you eaten today?" And I'll be like, "No, can we go and get something to eat?" And I'm like, "Oh, can you go and get me something to eat?" And I'll be like, "I'll be fine again." But like, I don't know. I always say to him, I was like, "This shouldn't work. Like, it should not. The amount of like arguments and things, it shouldn't." But honestly, when I say everything runs so smoothly, like it doesn't make sense, but it just click. Like I say, we just click. We just work really well together, and it just, we just work. I don't know. I can't explain it anything else. It just works.
Well, if you're listening and you're thinking, who's this person Jane is talking about, go back to number 57. It's the episode ago we filmed with Colin. And maybe, just maybe, Colin will not just be Jane's vice chair at West, she'll also be vice chair at National. Who knows? You never know. And given his history from what you've just said, you might find out the night before.
One or not. We'll be there at 10 o'clock for this AGM, and he'll be like, I think I'm going to go for this. And I'll be like, we're not doing this again. Not again. Not again. No more. Yeah. No more.
Listen, Jane, I said earlier, something that people say is they sometimes don't realise they've been interviewed. I'm going to tell you now that we've been speaking for an hour and 40 minutes, and I bet it doesn't feel like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I know. 100 minutes. It's now the second longest R2Kast in history, which is good going. It's been a really good one to talk about. You mentioned something about 20 minutes ago that I almost wanted to say before the sort of last two questions that I ask. I don't know if you watched the R2Kast. There's two questions I always finish the podcast with. One of them, if you had any tips for folk coming into farming, I'd more like to ask you tips for coming into young farmers. What would they be? And the second one, I'm going to question this slightly different, is it's normally where do you see yourself in 5 years? But what I'm going to say is, you said this isn't the thing that pays my bills, it's not the thing that pays my mortgage. You've put probably more time into young farmers than even any of your jobs in the past 13 years. You've at least got 1 year left. I don't think you can have any more years left after that. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? And what's next once you finish with young farmers? Because you're going to have this massive hole.
I know. It is a thought. I know. It's really scary in that. I mean, I'm looking forward to not looking forward to not doing it. But like you say, like once you go to national, I mean, back into that I'll be an associate member. I don't really want to be doing. Not that I don't want to be doing the same amount. I can't do the same amount anymore. I can't keep this up. Like, I can't do it. I need to go on a holiday. It's what I need to do. That's not Highland Show. My summer holiday needs to stop being Highland Show. Working for a full week essentially is what it feels like. But I'm a wee bit worried. Not worried, but like I'm going to come off of this and have so much free time. Like all my friends who probably hate me because I'm always not cancelling, but I'm like, yeah, I need to be in like West Renfrewshire. Like tonight, I completely forgot. Like I can't come for dinner, or I can't do this. Like there's so much time to make up for in that. And I'm saying I've not missed anything major. Like obviously that is so much more important than what Young Farmers is. Things like that, like family things, and like I've experienced so many emotions through Young Farmers. I've experienced great loss. I mean, the biggest event for me is West Chair, or one of the biggest events early on is Air Show, and my grand Strawhorn passed away 2 weeks before it, and our funeral was on the Thursday of Air Show. So I've experienced so much. Like it's been such a roller coaster, so much. And I'm not saying like I didn't put Young Farmers, and Colin and me argued about this because obviously his job is to pick up, and if I can't ever be there and I make a point of always being there, it's his job to like step into my shoes essentially for the day, or as long as I let him, because I'm very protective of my title as West Chair, and he is my vice. He is not West Chair yet. But like for that example, like I was supposed to be at Air Show that full day on the Thursday, and obviously I would never ever go. Like it was my grand's funeral and I had that. But there's so much to Young Farmers with that, and like you can never really, when you get to this point, you can never really turn it off completely. Yeah. But you just have to be able to be really good at separating things and again, I come back to it, prioritising. And obviously that's my family. That's more than anything in Young Farmers would ever mean to me, obviously. So there's things like that. But like also being in Young Farmers gets you through that kind of thing. Like having these people around you, the support system there is what makes going through things like that. Like obviously there's amazing highs, like you go to Highland Show and there's success, like you're there, things like National Weekend, remember, like seeing your friends succeed in things, like is also obviously the massive highs. There's also really big lows, but you have all those people around you to support and share it with, because that's what makes it important. So there is part of me that is a wee bit anxious the next year. It's not that I'm going to go to having nothing. I'm still involved. I'm still sitting. Not next year, the year after. You know what I mean? I'm not just, it's not like I'm like being ripped from it once I come off and they're like, we don't need you anymore. Don't ever like come back to meetings or anything. Like I'm still going to be sat on all these different committees for another year. So that'll be like the downtime that I probably need, to like the slow kind of coming out of it. And just enjoying, getting to a point in Farmers when I can actually enjoy it again, like as a member for like a wee bit of time, but also doing other things. Like this is really sad, but anyone who knows me knows that what I do every day, so my day is work, Young Farmers, bed. That's what I do. There's two things I like to do every single day to not get through the day, that makes it sound so dramatic, but like two things for me that I like to do. So the first thing is I do a French lesson every day on Duolingo. Yeah. Yes, you do know that. Everyone that knows me knows this. Yeah. So I'm on like 300 and something days, and it's like 5 minutes I get to myself. I get to do it. And the other thing is at 11 o'clock at night, if I'm home and I'm ready for bed, I read for 1.5 hour period uninterrupted. No one can in fact, I've seen no one can contact me. There's 3 people that can contact me in a case of emergency. And that's my mum, my sister, and Colin. Because there's always an emergency with the West. There's always something that needs done. But other than that, that's the 2 things I like to do every single day, is something that I like. There's a wee bit of me. I love reading. And I don't necessarily love French, but at the same time, it's so, you would not believe the calmness I get from it. Just like speaking into my phone, like doing French phrases.
I mean, I've seen you. I haven't seen you in person. I've seen videos of you doing it at shows.
Dumfries Rugby Club toilets, Thornhill, because it's always the furthest away meetings tend to be the ones in D&G. Yep. So I either park up at Thornhill, or I run the risk of not getting home in time. And Thornhill has got amazing parking, so I always pick there at like 11 o'clock, because that's running a wee bit close. So I always park up at Thornhill and
but
do my
does it reset at midnight?
Yeah, so you have to do it. You have to keep the streak going. So I do my French lesson every single day and before midnight. And I did it like Highland Show. I did it every single day. Come rain, hail, shine, what snow. I did it every single morning before I went to Young Farmers Centre just to make sure it was out the way and it was done. And I did that.
Just think how good you'll be at French when you leave Young Farmers. You'll have 4 days to do it every day.
I'll be moving to France to immerse myself in the culture so I can do it properly, honestly. But yeah, just that's probably one of the things as well I would say to anyone. And you are not taking time for yourself, making sure you take time for yourself, because what's the point? If you don't take time for yourself, there's no point. But the other thing, and you may or may not remember this from the panel night, and you probably don't because it's a while ago, but the thing that I told them all at Laura Nithsdale's panel night was don't...
Oh, wait. I think I can tell this.
Go.
So basically, don't do what you did. I'm pretty sure the exact words you said were, don't jump in too fast, enjoy just being a member.
Yep.
Are you impressed?
I'm so impressed. You're like so smug. It's like, I think that was what we finished the panel night on as well, because it was like, wow, that's quite poignant. It's the same thing I tell anyone whenever I go and I'm speaking at anything about Young Farmers. It's exactly the same thing I say is enjoy the carefree element that comes with just being a club member. If you want to do something, do it. If you don't, there's no pressure on you. You don't have to do it. You don't have to go to that cattle dressing or speech making if you don't want to. Just enjoy it. There is a time and a place for being an office bearer. You've got so much more time than you think to do it all. So there's no point in rushing. It's a wonderful experience, and you need to make the most of it, because if you don't, you'll burn yourself out, which I nearly did when I was 22. And you just think, I don't want to do this ever again. Just enjoy it. Just make the most of it. Enjoy everything that has to offer.
Well, we'll take that as your tip for folk coming into Farmers. We kind of jumped ahead of the questions and something else there, but where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see 32-year-old Jane?
I'll just start crying. 32-year-old Jane, oh my goodness. I don't want to say something boring like working. I was going to say working in Young Farmers, but I physically can't do Young Farmers anymore. I would like to think that I'd be able to, if my club needed anything, I'd always be there to help them. So whether I've trained teams for things before and whatever. I don't know. Working, I might be halfway to be. I might be a full lawyer at that point.
Yeah, might be.
5 years. Might be a full lawyer.
You started this podcast by saying never, and now we're talking.
Never, and now I'm. You never know. Well, with the amount of career changes I've had, I could be literally anything. I could be literally anything. I don't know. As long as I'm happy and I'm content, which I am just now, then I'm fine. It's not like I'm still living at home with mum and dad as well, so that's something.
It's good when you own a place and you're working towards that, isn't it? I mean, This flat might be the size of my car, but I love it.
Exactly. And same as my flat. Like, I've got my wee flat that I love and I worked hard for, and it's mine and it's my space, and it feels like I'm an adult, I suppose. When I am very much an adult, but yeah, it's nice.
I don't feel like an adult though. Like
I do when I look at my mortgage coming out every month. I'm like, oh, there it is.
There's the adulthood.
There's adulthood. Crippling, just hitting me in the chest. Oh, there it is.
I did the crazy thing of choosing to overpay double. I'm double paying every month. Is that a bad idea coming from a person that works for a lawyer?
I wouldn't be able to comment, unfortunately.
Oh yes, of course. You're not allowed, yeah.
I'm not allowed to give out free legal advice, Wallace, unfortunately.
So. I've got to pay the fee that you won't tell us. No, Jane, it's been great to chat. We obviously we know each other out with the podcast as well, which it always makes it sometimes quite interesting to dig deeper to someone that you've spoke to a million times but never actually spoke to out with Liverpool, farming and cats.
Speaking of, they've just kicked off.
Oh, I thought you were going to say there was a result. Yeah, it was 8 o'clock.
No,
because we have just confirmed we started at 6:17.
We did.
We have been recording for longer than a football match. No, it's been good to chat as it often is with folk that I've already known before. As I say, I hope you've enjoyed coming on.
Absolutely.
Good. And I'm sure even though it is 8 o'clock on a Monday, you've still got to travel to like blooming Carluke for a meeting or something like that, don't you?
Take the night off. You've been my excuse to have the night off. I say that I'm going to go to my mum and dad's and watch the football. So.
Oh, there you are. Well, sorry, I'm taking you away from the football. For those who are listening and watching, guys, hope you've enjoyed another good episode of R2Kast. Maybe if you're looking to get into farming, young farmers could be that pathway for you. Next week, number 64. Last week we were in, for number 62, we were on the Isle of Arran, the first R2Kast from my home island. This week, you guys can't see this at the minute because I'm talking, but if you could see Jane right now, she is watching her phone like a hawk in case Liverpool score. This week, we came all the way to Kilmarnock for Jane Strawhorn. We're going to take a bit of a longer journey next week, somewhat of a Tuesday evening journey for Jane with young farmers. We're heading all the way to New Zealand to meet Philippa Cameron, which is quite an interesting story. And I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying it wrong, who farms 40,000 hectares with 30,000 sheep, about 500 head of cattle, and is the smoko cook. And that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give you any more. You're going to have to listen to R2Kast number 64 for that one. Jane, thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, and I will speak to you later.
Well, that's it. Another R2Kast finished, another agricultural mind opened up. And I would just like to say that getting these guests on board, it does take time, and it always has done, but I've now went weekly, and with that comes even more time required. And I would just like to finally thank once more the Scottish Farmer for sponsoring the show and making that much more possible. Please be sure to get in touch if you've any ideas of people you'd like to see on the podcast, or maybe ideas you have for me presenting better, because I definitely do require that. See you in the next one.